7 miles northeast of Düsseldorf Airport, a maintenance worker at a sewage treatment plant hears the sound of an approaching airplane. Flight 108 breaks out of the clouds in a steep dive.
500! 400! 300! Pull up!
The plane pulls up just in time.
The plane came flying out of the bottom of the cloud at 4,000 feet per minute. The G-force it would have taken to overcome that, to pull the airplane nose back up, it was violent.
The sound of the engines recedes into the distance.
That flight would have been sheer terror. Sheer terror for the people in the back, sheer terror up front. You know, you went from having a visual reference to thinking you're good to all of a sudden you're back in the cloud again.
A minute later, the plane returns. This time, Flight 108 spirals out of control and breaks up.
No, no, no!
It's a horrifying sight.
I can't even imagine what the person watching that would be thinking.
2 minutes before dawn, Flight 108 slams into an open field on the banks of the Ruhr River. The wreckage is scattered over a wide area. First responders make their way to the crash site. All 19 passengers and both pilots are dead. The Metroliner itself is broken into thousands of pieces.
You're seeing that parts are distributed throughout the area. You'll start collecting all the parts, mapping where they are, and trying to put this puzzle back together again.
Investigators from Germany's Air Accident Investigation Unit, or FUS, begin mapping the wreckage of Flight 108 to determine what caused the accident.
Over here.
What do you got?
I found it.
Huh.
Once you've found a piece of metal, a lightning strike, it's like, okay, where does it go in the airplane? What's in the proximity of this? Is it next to the electronics? Is it next to hydraulics? Where is this lightning strike occurring?
The only way to determine where the mystery piece comes from is to reconstruct sections of the airplane.
At the time of this accident, reconstructions were fairly typical, mainly because we didn't have as much data as we have now. So reconstructing it made sense.
I think I've got it.
Investigators match the piece of the plane to the left side of the fuselage forward of the wing. This is where the lightning struck. But could a lightning strike in front of the left wing actually cause a total electrical failure?
There are power system lines running right behind where the lightning struck. Can't be a coincidence.
Is it possible that that lightning strike entered the electrical wires on the other side and therefore led to the loss of electrical power? So that would have been the real focus of the investigation at this point.
1,000 volts.
Investigators learn that when more than 1,000 volts are applied to a working diode, it will crack. A lightning bolt can carry hundreds of millions of volts, more than enough energy to crack the diode.
It must have been lightning.
The damage of the diodes only can be produced by high voltage. Could it be possible that high voltage would be produced within the aircraft? And the answer was no, it could be only produced by the lightning strike.
Basically, the lightning hit the aircraft, flowed through the system. It impacted the diodes, which fried them, cracked them, took them offline, and that shut down the electrical systems on the aircraft.
The odds of lightning taking out an entire electrical system are next to impossible. And yet, that's what happened.
But this doesn't explain why the crew flew into the thunderstorm in the first place.
Okay.
The primary rule is if you see a thunderstorm, no matter what its size, you avoid it. You go around, you divert, you hold, you do whatever you can. You do not want to fly through a thunderstorm.
So why didn't they do the sensible thing and go around the storm?
At that time, they had several possibilities. One possibility was just to prepare if they would fly through the thunderstorm, what could happen, what they have to do, what they have to prepare. Another possibility could have been just to divert to another airport.
Let's have a listen to what the pilots were saying about the storm.
Check the radar. Thunderstorm could be rolling in after all.
Halfway through the flight, the crew learns there's adverse weather ahead.
Maybe. Doesn't look particularly bad. I'll check the ATIS.
The crew checks Düsseldorf Airport's weather service.
Information Bravo at 0700.
But there's no indication of a thunderstorm.
Once they got the ATIS, their expectation bias was that the weather was getting better.
Broken clouds at 1,500 feet.
Nothing but a thunderstorm. We should be fine.
The captain considers the information and makes his decision.
Okay. We'll continue with the approach.
They just assume best-case scenario and don't do a proper briefing.
As professional pilots, we always brief each other based off the worst conditions. You never know if that 10% probability of thunderstorms actually happens, and if it does happen and it's too late, you don't have time to brief it.
NFD 108.
11 minutes later, the situation becomes more critical.
Preceding landing experienced a lightning strike about 6 miles final.
If I were the crew and I were on approach and preceding traffic in front of me were to get struck by lightning, at that point I would initiate a missed approach, go around and hold somewhere and figure out what we're going to do, because the weather at that point is moving onto the approach path and you need to take that pretty seriously.
But that's not what the pilots do.
Düsseldorf approach, we copy and are looking outside. NFD 108.
Hey, did you hear what happened to Walter last weekend?
Yeah, not surprised.
Hold on. They should be talking about deviating or a go-around here, not someone's weekend.
They should have been deciding where they were going to go and what they were going to do instead of going down this rabbit hole. They just thought the other person's comfortable with it and we'll continue going. If they're comfortable, I'm comfortable.
Investigators continue listening to the CVR as the pilots prepare for landing.
You're left of the center line.
What?
You're left of the center line. You need to turn right.
The captain started deviating to the left, apparently without telling the first officer of his plan.
I don't want to go in there. I'm trying to get around it.
We're too close to the runway. You can't change course now.
Sounds like the captain is trying to deviate around the storm.
And the first officer isn't on the same page.
It's a bad idea to try and re-intercept the approach when you're already unstabilized. It's just a bad idea. You just do a go-around.
Okay. I hear you.
Again, no discussion of their options.
There's some tension in the cockpit. There's some issue between the captain and the first officer. We don't know exactly what it was, but clearly this was not conducive to the crew working together to determine what was the best course of action.
So now, the captain turns the plane directly into the thunderstorm.
Hold on tight. Here it comes.
Neither crew knew what the other one was doing. They hadn't briefed for the weather. They didn't have the plane set up for flying around in the vicinity of thunderstorms, and they just kept going.